communication that bring us closer, allowing contact between academics from different countries who have common interests and areas of work. Webinars provide a space of work and shared research and projects. The exchange that takes place in these virtual spaces is of a great value and tremendously fruitful, since they generate synergies, new questions, ideas, and also the possibility of applying for funds, which otherwise would not occur. Furthermore, in addition to benefiting academics, it is also an occasion for works team, researchers, doctoral and postdoctoral studies to generate joint work opportunities. With Universidad de Chile, we have a long-standing collaboration relationship. We have indeed led and organized numerous seminars, webinars, and academic forums in the last years. These academic forums have been in different countries, China, as well as in Sweden and different other countries of the world. During this week, you will have the chance to participate in interesting meetings with academics from all 3 universities, who will address topics such as the effects of the pandemic on the Chilean and Chinese economies, online education between Chile and China, and its impact on global higher education. The experience of both countries during pandemic and healthcare and surveillance and science and technology, engineering 2030, core for projects, and other topics. Interesting meetings will be held with the participation of academics from the 3 universities, also on topics such as the effect of pandemics in the economy, Chile-China, online education, healthcare and surveillance challenges during the COVID-19, experiences sharing between Chile and China, and other areas in humanities. We sincerely hope that the discussion will take place in the coming days with fruitful results and productive mutual collaboration. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the authorities of Universidad de Chile and Tsinghua University for being partners with our Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. Thank you very much.
Eduardo, necesitas activar el micrófono.
Thank you so much for your words, President Sanchez. Continuing with this ceremony, I offer the word to the President of the University of Chile, Professor Ennio Vivaldi. Professor Ennio Vivaldi is medical doctor and full professor of the Faculty of Medicine of Universidad de Chile. He is President of the University of Chile since 2014 and President of the Consortium of Universities of State Universities of Chile, CUECH. Dr. Vivaldi is an international specialist in sleep physiology, a specialization developed in a joint Harvard-MIT program. In his scientific work, he has made important contributions to the area of sleep regulation and chronobiology, and his findings have been published at the most prestigious international magazines. Please go ahead, President Vivaldi. Your microphone.
Yes, thank you very much, Eduardo. Pleasure to be here with the provost of the Tsinghua University, with the president of the Catholic University of Chile, and with the diplomatic authorities that are here with us. We are celebrating 50 years of relations between China and Chile. 1970 was a very interesting year in our history. And I think we have to congratulate ourselves of the decision that made the new government at the moment of reestablishing the relationship, establishing the relationship with China. And that year also was the year in which Pablo Neruda got the Nobel Prize. It was the second Nobel Prize that Chile got. And I put the two things together because when I visited China, the first thing that came to my mind was something that I read from Neruda, very well put, okay? Neruda, at one point he says, I believe the Chinese people are totally unable of conceiving anything that is not extremely beautiful. That's a quote of Pablo Neruda, and I fully agree with that. And that's the idea that you get when you find surrounded by the atmosphere when you visit China. We celebrate very much, as Ignacio just said, we take pride as being able to conduct international academic relations in a joint matter, thinking of the country as a whole. The two universities are represented here, but we all know that it is the whole university system that we feel that is present through our two universities. I would like to emphasize a few things in these moments of pandemic. It's a moment of uncertainty. Uncertainty is the soul of academic life. I mean, we live trying to find better truth or new ways of approaching realities. We are never 100% sure of how things are or how they will be. So for universities, it became kind of natural to face the situation that we are living in all our countries. We are very proud in Chile that traditionally, since the first half of the 19th century, when our republics were created, the Latin American universities have played perhaps a much more direct, a much more hands on the task role in developing these republics. And I think in our country, this is so true that, for example, I always like to put this example, internet in Chile, or the internet domain is handled by us, by university. We did very good work in going into offline works in the university, mainly because the Chilean universities had been pioneer in bringing the informatic technology to the country. And that will show in one of the sessions that you have prepared for this meeting. The other session that have to do with biomedical research and with science and technology are the big challenges if you put them together with the other subject, which is internationalization and economics. So it's a perfect blend, the 5 areas that will be discussed. But I would like to be more specific in 2 aspects that are present here. One is the issue of internationalization, and that is not a matter that we like better, more or less internationalization. I would like to emphasize that that is a must, is a need. There's no way you can solve today's problems for mankind if you don't look at them from an internationalized perspective. So we must go into internationalization. And the other issue that for us as a university has become extremely fundamental is the issue of transdisciplinarity. And precisely because of the complexity of the issues we are facing, as I just said, okay, they will not be solved within single disciplines. They need a totally new approach in which we create new epistemological tools by blending different traditions or different disciplinary traditions. And for that, for example, we are putting forward a whole new campus that is aimed precisely at bringing together, alongside with the traditional faculties of the university that have to do with technology, health, the law, economics, and so the humanities and so on. We want to have the opportunity of a new campus that will be devoted to models of research and models of knowledge building that will bring together the different disciplines. And for all those issues that we will be discussing, our relationship with the Chinese universities, we believe, is fundamental, and certainly is a project where all the Chilean universities have a role to play. So for us, it is a crucial moment. Universities have been responding totally committed with the future of their countries. We have been, I think, responsible. International relationships are fundamental. Transdisciplinary outlooks are essential. And China is a country that we look extremely forward to heighten and to increase our relationship. And we're totally sure that it will be an extremely productive exchange for us. So thank you so much for this opportunity of having this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Vivaldi. To continue, I invite the director of the Latin American Center of the University of Tsinghua and professor of international business at the School of Economics and Management of Tsinghua, Professor Tao Chen.
Thank you, Eduardo. I have the pleasure of introducing the Vice President and Provost of Tsinghua University, Professor Yang Bin, to give us these greetings. Dr. Yang Bin is a faculty member in the School of Economics and Management, Tsinghua University. He holds a doctorate in management science. His area of expertise are organizational leadership, ethics, strategy and administration of higher education. He is Vice President of the Chinese Association of Postgraduate Education, General Secretary of the National Committee of Engineering Education, and General Secretary of the Superior Committee of MBA Education. Please go ahead, Vice President Yang.
Thank you very much, Tao. Actually, more importantly, I'm the colleague, one of the colleagues of you. That's more important. So nice to meeting all the old friends. Rector Sanchez, Rector Vivaldi, distinguished guests and colleagues from Chile and China. Greetings from the campus of Tsinghua University. I'm delighted that Tsinghua and partner universities in Chile are co-hosting this China-Chile week. Since 1970, China and Chile have enjoyed an enduring diplomatic relationship that is nothing short of brotherhood. During his state visit to China in 2019, President Pinera visited Tsinghua University and delivered a speech entitled Chile and China Facing Together the Challenges and Opportunities of the Future. I had the privilege to confer him the title of honorary professorship. I'm proud that Tsinghua has developed an effective partnership with Catholic University of Chile, the University of Chile, among other important Chilean institutions. These partnerships demonstrate our shared vision, mission to face the challenges and opportunities of the future. With the support of Luxic Group, Tsinghua School of Economics and Management, Tsinghua SEM, together with the Business School of the Catholic University of Chile, launched a student exchange program in 2007. In 2010, SEM established the Center of China Latin America Management Studies. In 2018, I visited Chile and unveiled the Tsinghua University Latin America Center in Santiago. The center has initiated a number of activities, including today's event, and has strengthened the relationship between Tsinghua and our Chilean partner institution. And special thanks to Madam Tao, Professor Tao, for your contribution to the joint efforts. In addition, the Latin America Center is bringing together the Medicine School of the Catholic University of Chile and the Beijing Tsinghua Chang'eng Hospital to cope with the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic. Professors from Tsinghua School of Economics and Management are collaborating with professors from School of Economics at the Catholic University of Chile. and will work closely with Chinese and Chilean enterprises and government agencies on post-pandemic economic recovery projects. Tsinghua and University of Chile will also work with the Chilean Economic Development Agency and other partners to advance scientific and technological innovation, the digital economy, and support for Chile's Engineering and Sciences 2030 plan. I'm very proud that this collaborative achievements and others will be showcased during the China-Chile week. Distinguished guests, as we reap the fruits of 50 years of Chile-China diplomatic relations, we reflect on our enduring partnerships and lay a pathway for the new era of collaboration of 50 years ahead. I thank all participants, and supporters of China-Chile Week, and wish the event a complete success. Finally, I'm delighted to share with you that Tsinghua will be celebrating its 110th anniversary in April 2021, so next year. The theme of the celebration is Strive for Excellence, Innovate for the Future. I cordially invite Rector Sanchez and Rector Vivaldi to join the celebration face-to-face in person. I hope all distinguished guests today join in the promotion of greater mutual understanding and relations between our two great nations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice President Yang. We now invite the Counselor of the Embassy in Chile in the People's Republic of China, Mr. Rodrigo Toledo, to give us some greetings. Your camera and microphone, please, Rodrigo. Rodrigo, do you hear us?
Yes, good morning for you. Good evening here in China. Actually, I don't know what's happening with the video here. I'm so sorry. Yes, here
Now we see.
But we have some technical difficulties here sometimes, but it's okay. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Ignacio Sanchez, President of Universidad Católica, Dr. Enio Vivaldi, President of Universidad de Chile. For me, it's a pleasure and a great honor to be here today. Professor Tao Tao Cheng, I saw you last Friday, in our dinner, commemorative dinner. Dr. Yang Bing, it is a honor, to have you here. Dr. Ferrer, always is a pleasure to see you. Regarding with the 50 years of anniversary, I would like to share with you some private experience. Last Friday, we conclude a series of activities, commemorative activities, was being held by the embassy. Among them, we got, the opening of a new general consulate in the city of Chengdu. Chengdu is a capital of the province of Sichuan. We're talking about almost 80 million people living in this province. The city is located in the heart of the territory of China. It's practically inside China. This is the first Chilean consulate to be located not in the offshore, but inside the territory. So for us, it's important. It has been a lot of sacrifice, a lot of effort, and a lot of work on beside the embassy. We're happy, we're proud, because we will be able to serve and to help in a better way, but also it is a way to be more close than China. Dr. Vivaldi says in some moment, a few minutes ago, the relation between the academic centers. And I guess, and I have to agree totally with the president of my alma mater. Internationalism, multilateralism, and the globalism. It is important, and today it is more than necessary. We need each other. We need to support each other. We need to survive each other. I guess the COVID-19 experience was very useful for all of us. It is a very hard experience. It is very cruel, but also it demonstrated the necessity to mutual collaboration, especially in international areas. We need to collaborate. We need to work each other. There is a huge way. We have a huge challenge in the future, but this is it. 50 years of diplomatic relations for us. It is not easy to explain. It is a long, long way that began in 1970. So much things happened in these 50 years. I mean, if we look numbers, if we look the picture of the new China in 1970, if we look the picture of Chile in 1970, so much things happened. Everything has changed totally. I mean, in order to see how we are now. We have a very nice relationship. It is a mature and a very deep relationship. It has been very positive. I don't want to talk about the previous records. I mean, in diplomacy, we have some bad habits. We start to repeat several lines because it is necessary to do it. I don't like to talk about the previous records. I mean, we were the first to recognize China in South America. We were the first to recognize China as a free market economy. So if allow me, I mean, to have this license today and to move forward, I mean, to something more, maybe more interesting, more challenging for us. I mean, regarding with the economy, it's obviously, I mean, in March 2019, we upgraded the free trade agreement. And with this new updated, I mean, of the agreement, I mean, we have moved a little bit interesting. Chile's level ties in Asia is obviously, I mean, very important for us. I mean, the Asian continent currently accounts for nearly the 45% of Chile's foreign trade. China alone represents around 30%, a little bit more. So China, it is our main partner. China today, for Chile, it is the first trading partner. We are, I mean, an important partner for China. In South America, we are the second trade partner after Brazil. And we have moved several times. Allow me to move forward and to avoid so many ciphers. There is so many numbers here. I mean, I prepared a very nice document. I mean, I was working during the afternoon and evening. But I would like to go to something more directly more to the heart. I mean, we have a challenge, we have a responsibility. I mean, public servants, I mean, as a diplomat, I mean, we have moved around the last 50 years, increasing this tide, but we were not only one. I mean, it was also the culture. It was also, I mean, the literature. It was also the arts. It was also the universities. I mean, we opened relationship in 1970, but Neruda came here to China before in 1951. So they came, I mean, not only him, but it was a group of people. Among them it was, I mean, Salvador Allende as well, when he was senator or representative for Chile. And they decided, I mean, to work, I mean, in these cultural links and this in these educational links. So by the end, they moved forward and they prepared, I mean, the basis for that. So when I was studying in Santiago, in the university, something that I learned also was something similar. I mean, we cannot make any political link if we don't know. I mean, we can make so many political links, but we cannot do it a good political link if we don't know each other. I mean, it is too easy to sell whatever you want to sell, apples, fruit, kiwis, whatever you want to sell to anyone. But it's better and it's more difficult to sell to a friend. Because when you have a friend, you can solve situations. You can afford situations together. I mean, the best example was the COVID-19 crisis. In this regard, I mean, I would like to finish very soon this, I mean, a small presentation. I am not the most appropriate person here, I mean, to speak about, I mean, the relations. I guess the academic world will represent us better in this way. So by the end, I mean, I'd like to finish, I mean, speaking about a little bit the challenge we have to afford in the future. I mean, we have technology, we have economy, we have health crisis with the COVID-19. We have so many to do. I mean, 5G, for example, it is something we need to use it. I mean, Dr. Vivaldi was explaining us, I mean, the importance, I mean, about the telemedicine or the importance about the new system of informatics and communications. By the future, I mean, 5G will be a tool, a needed tool for all of us. Now, we need to see who will be the better option to provide that. This is a challenge and this becomes to be political in this moment. So we will see that. COVID-19, I mean, we have to fight against the COVID-19 in different areas. One of them will be the vaccines. I was reading the news. I mean, so many countries in Europe, in United States, even in our region, including Chile. I mean, we are ready. I mean, we are looking forward, I mean, to have these vaccines to start to work. Part of any public health policy will be, I mean, to work with these vaccines as a tool. The relation with China, I mean, is still ongoing after 50 years. I mean, we need a second challenge to take this relation, to take these 50 years, this mature relationship, and to move forward to a new stage and see what will be this next stage. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can assure you, I mean, we will have to work double or maybe triple, I mean, to keep this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodrigo Toledo. Continuing with the final greeting, I leave with you the Counselor of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in Chile, Mr. Su Yi. Please.
Good morning, everyone. It is a great pleasure to participate in the celebration organized by the University of Chile today. First of all, please allow me to extend greetings to all friends who have long cared about China and Chile relations. How time flies. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries on December 15, 1970, we have gone through 50 years of glorious journey together. With the work of generations of our missionaries, China-Chile relations have achieved fast development, have always been at the forefront of relations between China and the Latin American countries, and have made records in many areas of cooperation. This fully shows that China-Chile relationship, friendship, is deeply rooted in our people and has a strong foundation. Cooperation between universities is of great importance for promoting the development of relations between the two countries. The University of Chile, the Católica University of Chile, and Tsinghua University are our top institutions of higher learning and have trained a large number of talents. The cooperation between the two sides in a wide range of fields, such as scientific research, is growing and has built a platform for mutual exchanges and learning between our outstanding young people. This will surely help make new highlights, bring new impetus, and open new prospects for future cooperation between our two countries. Finally, I hope that friends from colleges and universities will continue to pay attention to and promote the development of China-Chile relations and together bring China-Chile friendship to new heights. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Su Yi. Well, with these words, we close the inaugural ceremony, and we thank all the authorities that have accompanied us today. We will have a short few minutes break before we start start the first seminar, the first webinar on economics that will take place today. So we will have a short break, and we thank again all the authorities that obviously need to leave in this minute for their very busy schedule. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Eduardo. Thank you, Tao. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Enio and Provost. Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias a ustedes. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you. It was beautiful, and we look forward for a great friendship. See you.
See you, Enio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night.
So, good morning, Sebastián Claro, Professor Claro.
Hi.
Yes. So we'll go back to the screen configuration in a few seconds, and then I'll introduce you to the audience.
Thank you, Eduardo. Can I ask you a brief question before we go on leave?
Yes.
There is a chance for us to share some figures and to share the content of our screen?
Yes, of course, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Tao.
Hi, Sebastian.
Okay, we're ready. Well, to open the first panel of this morning, I leave with you Professor Sebastián Claro from the Faculty of Economy and Administration of Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, who will be the moderator of this session. Thank you. Please go ahead, Professor Claro.
Thank you, Eduardo, and thanks all for being here. It's a pleasure to be moderating this panel. The opportunity of celebrating 50 years of diplomatic and economic relations with China is so fantastic that we would like to use this opportunity to share experiences on the impact of COVID and how we can find areas of knowledge and collaboration between the public and the private sectors. I would like to start very briefly thanking Tao for all her work, as well as Lilian at the Catholic University and all the people that have been involved in all this discussion and the preparation of this seminar. We all know that the pandemic has affected very significantly our economies, so we want to use this opportunity to share experiences on these effects, to increase our knowledge on how we can enhance the recovery, and to strengthen collaboration on those dimensions. We have a fantastic agenda here. We will start with Tao, which will give us a keynote speak. Then I will also make a brief presentation, and then we have a very exciting panel with representatives of the public and the private sector, government officials. We will have Jorge O'Ryan from ProChile, Oscar Asbun, CEO of Compañía Sudamericana de Vapores, and Mr. Pu Zhang from China Construction Bank and Chile branch. So without further ado, Tao, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Sebastian. Please allow me to mention at the very beginning that with Luxi Group's donation, Tsinghua Latin American Center was set up in Santiago, Chile at the end of 2018. Within this year, even though we cannot travel to Chile, we have constantly been working with medical team from Católica University, trying to assist Chile for fighting against COVID-19. Now, I'm honored to work with Professor Sebastian, the distinguished economics, the professor of the Department of Economy in Católica University, for a joint project. We're trying to figure out the situation in China and in Chile, right? Trying to find a solution for improving economic performance while taking control of the pandemic. See, we have lived with this pandemic for almost a year. At early time, there were a lot of doubt about the virus, a lot of doubt about the control measures. That was understanding. We do not know a lot about this virus, right? But now with the accumulation of the experience of all these maps, we do know more, right? The joint research right now is in the process. So today, I'm here to share with you my understanding of China's situation and some thinking and analysis clue and some of the preliminary findings. Is that okay with you? All right, let me share the screen. So I'm starting, just one moment. My goodness. Yeah, these are the informations and analysis I want to share with you. Basically, what is the COVID-19 and its control situation in China? What are the impacts of the COVID-19 on Chinese economy? What are the crucial elements and key measures for controlling the pandemic in China? And what are the impact of these measures on economic recovery? And then we get down to a preliminary conclusion. See, this is the landscape of COVID-19 in China. We basically divide it into 4 stages, and it's clear that stage 2 was the outbreak timing. And within that period, the daily cases was up to 15,000 sometimes, okay? But when we get to the stage 3, you can see that the daily cases has already been down to less than 100. And we get into the stage 4, we are basically clean, only with a few number of imported cases from time to time. So actually, under the condition of no vaccine, no efficient medicine, this fantastic performance is clearly due to the efficient control measures, right? You can see that from the stage 2 or 3, stage 2 and stage 3, the control measures was very much successfully to bring the high number of the cases down to the low level, right? And within the stage 4, the control measures was very much successful in keeping the cases at a very low level. So with that in our mind, let's see what are the impacts of COVID-19 on the Chinese economy. See, this is the landscape of GDP growth in China. So it is also very clearly that Chinese economy was hit very much, very badly at the breakout timing, right? But with the pandemic was under control, with people coming back to work, the economy get the chance to recover. And more information here. The different industry was affected differently. I can see that in China, the manufacturing sector was hit the most, and then the service, and then the agriculture. A little bit more information for the service sector. Actually, during the outbreak timing of the pandemic, the traditional business in service sector was hit very much. But there are two sectors, financial sector and IT sector, actually got the chance to grow. Okay. And then the for cities, you can see that different cities have different situation. Hubei province, where the Wuhan is the capital city, they were hit the most. You can see that GDP fell to almost like 40%. But Beijing is relatively fine, with relatively less accumulated case confirmed, and the GDP fell to less than 10%. Okay, and a similar case is for the international trade, and both the export and import, they got hit around the outbreaking time, and when the pandemic was in control, and it all get back. Okay, so see, we have seen so many pictures, right? If you combine the pandemic situation, control measures, and economic performance, the clear logic is the following. The control measures efficiently keep the cases at the low level, which provide the foundation and conditions for the economic recovery. So how to do the control? Do the control measures have any impact on economic activities? In fact, these questions need a big and very complex answer. So here, I'm just trying to provide you an simplified explanation. It sort of provides the thinking analysis clue to you so that you can think about this with me, okay? We actually follow the basic principle of infectious disease control, which are control the source of infection, cut off the route of infection, and protecting susceptible population. Okay, so after some investigation analysis, what we feel that one of the crucial elements is to provide systematic control. Here I just also give you a simple explanation, like the systematic control will represent the different levels control altogether: regional control, institutional control, and personal control. With the regional control, it's basically we divided the different places by the risk, which is defined by the confirmed cases. Okay, so in order to cut off the road of infection, so the people from the high risk area is restrained to go to the low risk area. Okay, and for the institutional control, all the institutions, all the unions, such as enterprises, schools, and government agencies, and so on, every unit has their own control measures. Basically, they're including like access control by temperature measurement, nucleic acid detection, okay? And of course, more than that, right? Within the institution, and they are required to do strict disinfection, and they're required to keep social distance, and more than that, okay? And for the personal control, people are required to wear masks whenever they go out, and they need to carry their smartphone with the health QR code inside, okay? So in summary, with all levels control, every region and every institution, as well as every individual, all contribute to the good result, okay? So after saying that, you might be imagine what are the impact of the control measures on the economic activity, right? It is, again, it's a big question. I will ask all of you, my friends here, to think this with me and check it after this webinar, okay? Ask yourself whether these control measures have any impact on economic activity. So after some investigation, we find that most of the measures actually have little direct impact on the economic activity. Think about it. Wearing masks, measuring temperature, detecting nucleic acid. See, all these things are so efficient regarding fighting against the controlling the pandemic, but what are the direct impact on the economic activity? Maybe little, maybe no, isn't it? Of course, some measures do have some impact. For example, keeping the social distance. We actually investigate Dahua company, and we were told that in order to have the social distance for the worker on the production line, and they have to use two production line instead of only one production line to make the same amount of product, okay? And think about the restaurant. In order to keep the social distance, and restaurant have to limit the number of people who can eat inside. And as maybe you can hold less number of people with one table in order to have more space, right? There are negative impact on the business, but with these valuable measures for controlling pandemic, we can still manage the business, right? You can still let the business going, isn't it? Okay, so we feel that this type of negative effect is valuable. Okay, it's something that we need to sacrifice. So we feel we can, this type of things can be manageable, and they can keep the economy going. Okay, so someone told me, not only one, okay, many people around this world have that wondering whether this type of control only can be done in China. My answer is no. See, we did investigation for state grade in Chile, and we get answer that state grade in Chile, they not only follow the requirement of the Chilean government, but also they learn a lot from their headquarters in China. They bring more detailed control method to Chile operation. So as a result of that, they keep the cases at the lowest level of the industry while maintaining their normal operation. I think those type of experience is really worth to learn. All right, let me just mention some new opportunities. We could say that bring by the pandemic, okay? Everyone know that the digital tools provide substituting approach of offline activities, right? Inside China, online selling channel helps a lot of farmers who are in a remote and undeveloped area. And some of the enterprises actively develop anti-pandemic products, such as Dahua, right? In the end, they actually improve the economic, the activities, improve the economic performance during the pandemic, right? This is also something we need to learn more. All right, let me just get to the preliminary conclusion by saying all of the things above. So control measures, under the condition without vaccine, the control measures in China are effective. At the same time, the economic can be restored with the effective control measures on site, and the systematic control is crucial. So with that, if you agree with me, or feel what we might need to do is one, to treat the pandemic with a scientific attitude, right? And we need to trust the government and let them to play the leading role. And we need to cooperate with the government and to cooperate among people so that you yourself can be protected, as well as contribute to protect others at the same time, right? So if you agree with me, what we could do in the next, I think collaboration is very crucial. So I'm highly encouraged here the government agency, enterprises, and the academics, okay? We could collaborate to each other. We could use the online platform to share the experience of anti-pandemic and to improve the economic performance. Okay, we should get together trying to provide and discuss more business opportunities. All right, so I think those are the things we really want to do together. So you're welcome to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tao Tao. Let me share my screen this time for making a few. There you go. Okay, so what I want to share is a joint work with Ramon del Piano is to share a few slides, a few figures on how large the effects of COVID had been in Chile and where the weaknesses have been, where the strengths have been, and how further role for collaboration with China is evident. It is pretty obvious that the degree of adjustment in Chile's economy in this crisis has been extremely large, much larger than, say, a comparable crisis in the past. And this time I'm thinking about the Asian financial crisis in the late 90s and the global financial crisis in 2008. Now, when we do assume in terms of which parts of the economy have been more affected this time than, say, in 2008, we observe that consumption has been much more affected. We can see that on the left panel. That has been a global phenomenon, not only because the fall in income has been so large, but also because of the physical restrictions to consume. On the central panel, we have also the adjustment in investment, which has been pretty similar to what we observed in 2008. But what's really amazing about this adjustment this time is that export or foreign demand has been much more resilient and dynamic than what happened in the global financial crisis. So if we were to contrast or to compare this crisis with the global financial crisis, we would see that consumption has been much more hurt, but foreign demand, exports have been much more resilient. Now, this phenomenon in Chile is not exclusive of Chile. When we look at global numbers, we see that indeed, after a very sharp decrease in global activity and global trade, these have rebounded, and global trade has rebounded very significantly, while in the 2008-2009 situation, it took much more quarters for trade to recover to the level observed before the crisis. So it is the case that worldwide, we have seen trade activity regaining momentum in the last few quarters after a sharp slowdown. Although in Chile, of course, trade was affected in the early days, but overall, we have had a much dynamic trading activity and export market, which has been to some extent a buffer of the adjustment in the economy. And this is the place where I want to put the emphasis, okay? And I want to use this figure, that is the geographical distribution of exports ex-copper. So this is not about copper. This is about agriculture, agribusiness, and manufacturing exports to China and the rest of the world. The trajectory, the cumulative trajectory between in 2019, the top panel, and 2020, the bottom panel until October. And what we see is that although we have seen a slowdown and a negative growth in exports to the rest of the world relative to 2019, we have seen an increase, a very significant increase, about 5% increase cumulative in exports to China in 2020. So it is indeed the growth of exports to China that has been a significant driver or the driver of the dynamic export sector that has taken place in this crisis. Now, let me go back in history a little bit. And I use this figure, and this is part of the study, to find out why this trade relationship with China might have played such a role. Trade and exports to China have increased very significantly in the last 20 years. This figure does not show the growth of exports into China, but rather, if we take a model and analyze the exports of Chile into all the countries in the world and control for the size, for the income per capita, for geographical barriers, for macroeconomic variables that would determine the export patterns of Chile vis-a-vis the rest of the world, what we observe is two things. One is that exports to China are larger than what would this model suggest based upon macroeconomic considerations. And secondly, this gap in exports to China beyond what these macroeconomic variables would suggest have increased in the last 15 years, essentially since the free trade agreement was signed. So we have a very dynamic ex-copper relationship with China. This is agribusiness and this is manufacturing and agriculture. So what we're observing here is that trade and exports to China are larger and growing faster than exports to other countries in the world, even after controlling for the fact that China has been growing very strongly in size, in income per capita, and even after controlling for the geographical barriers and distance that exists between Chile and all its trading partners. And when we analyze this in more detail, what we see is that this gap in favor of exports to China is present in industry and agribusiness, but it is especially in agriculture and agribusiness where we have seen a very strong dynamism in exports to China in the last 15 years. So overall, one main message here is that if we take a look at the last 20 years, essentially, it is not only that exports have increased to China very significantly. It is that they have increased very significantly in sectors different from copper. And this is news because we tend to think that this is all about copper. I'm saying this is not only about copper. There are many products where exports and export penetration have increased. How do we measure this? We don't measure this necessarily in US dollars, but rather we contrast that from the overall pattern of trade between Chile and every country in the world. And we see that relative to its size, income, and income per capita, exports to China in both manufacturing and agriculture are twice as large as those to an equivalent country would be. And this is part of the story of why we think that demand has been, and China has been very helpful in allowing Chile, in this case, to have a strong global demand, a strong export sector, and partially, of course, compensate the significant fall in domestic demand that we have seen in this crisis. When we take a deeper look at how this growth in exports to China in agricultural products and industrial products have taken place in the last 15 years, what we see is that there has been a very large increase, about 2- or 3-fold increase in the number of products exported. But in the case of agribusiness, a much significant increase in the penetration in exports per product exported. So the number of products exported have tripled essentially, but the value of exports per product has multiplied essentially by a number around 20. Okay, this is the dimension of how in these other sectors we have seen a huge increase in export growth. So what do we know then about what's going on this time? Remember, exports to China have been dynamic, growing about 5% cumulative this year relative to 2009, while exports to the rest of the world have been decreasing a little bit in this year. And this increase in exports to China, and here remember we are focusing on agriculture and manufacturing, have to some extent helped support demand for Chilean products. Now, when we make a zoom between agribusiness and manufacturing, what we observe is that it is essentially a penetration in terms of more exports per product, but not necessarily more product. In other words, out of the 200 plus categories of business products that are exported to China in agriculture, we have seen essentially no further penetration this year, and the growth has been at the intensive margin, more exports in the very same products. On the manufacturing side, though, we have seen a slowdown, a shrinkage in the number of products exported to China, about 10%, but almost 15% increase in the exports per product. And this is probably the reflection of the effect that industrial activities have been more affected by COVID and by the pandemic relative to agriculture activities, where has been in more rural areas, or control measures have been taken more seriously, or have been less subject to mobility restrictions. So overall, what we observe in these 10 months is that exports to China, non-mining, has been quite dynamic, especially in terms of the values per product. We have not seen further growth in the number of agricultural products exported. We have been a stagnation on that. When we go to manufacturing and industries, we see this two-side effect where products have been falling, exports per product have been increasing. What do we get from here? Three points that I want to mention before we get into our panel. First is that in this cycle, exports to China exported have been quite supportive of Chile's trading activity. This reflects almost 15 years of a strong export penetration, even beyond what traditional macroeconomic variables would imply. Maybe the free trade agreement have contributed to this. Maybe a strong and close relationship, business relationship has contributed to this. But this is a very important feature of trade between Chile and China, and this time has played a significant role. But there is still room for further growth. Just to mention a few numbers, out of 4 agribusiness products that Chile exports to the world, only 1 is exported to China. 25% of agribusiness products exported by Chile are elsewhere are exported to China. And 1 out of 7 manufacturing goods exported by Chile enter China. So there is still plenty of room of collaborative effort in these dimensions to further increase economic activity, economic relations, and help, in this case, the 2 countries, and especially Chile, to serve these hard and difficult economic times. I would like to finish here. Let me stop sharing my screen and let me introduce our panel. We have invited 3 very distinguished speakers to share their views, to share their own experiences in governmental positions, in the private sector, in the business sector. We think that it is not only the academic view that matters here, but mainly and mainly more importantly, the real experiences of people and government officials and the business community dealing with the COVID, the collaboration, and all alternatives to enhance economic activity and exchange. We have invited three very important speakers. I will present them very briefly so that we have more time for their presentations and then a Q&A and some discussion. Jorge Ryan is General Director of ProChile. Thank you, Jorge, for being here. Oscar Asbun, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Compañía Sudamericana de Vapores. Many thanks, Oscar, for your time. And Pu Zhang, Mr. Pu, which is President of China Construction Bank in Chile. Thank you, Mr. Pu, for sharing your time and your experience here with us. Maybe we can start with Jorge. We have between 5 and 7 minutes each for a presentation, and then we can have a brief conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian, for the introduction and for the invitation. And Dr. Tao Tao, special greetings for you and our friends in China. Ni hao. I would like to compliment in a pragmatic way from our point of view what we are doing, in this area. In my opinion, solid and lasting relationships between people and companies and clients on the other side, as well as between countries, are built based on trust and accompanied from many actions that consolidate that trust and transform them into a good partners. And in my opinion, this is our case with China. China has very special consideration for Chile's, in my opinion, due to 4 principal reasons. First of all, Chile was the first South American country to recognize the People's Republic of China in 1970. And this year, Chile and China commemorate this 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. Second one, Chile was the first country to support its entry into the WTO in 1993. Third one, also Chile was the first country to recognize it's a market economy in 2004, in Latin America. And fourth, Chile was the first country with which Beijing signed an FTA outside Asia in 2006. And to complement that, in 2017, the protocol for the deepening of the FTA too. What I have indicated has contributed to making China nowadays to our main trading partner worldwide. But we share also visions regarding the promotion of free trade, sustainable development, innovation, and very important, environmental care. Here I want to stop for a moment and highlight the solid commercial relationships between both countries and complement what Sebastian says before, which I want to base with some figures. Trade exchange, imports, exports with China in 2019 reached approximately $40 billion. Export amounts from our side amounted to $22.5 billion, of which I would say more or less 17 billion for minor products and approximately $6 billion for non-mining products. But this year, between January and November, China has continued to be Chile's main trading partner, accounting for 33% of trade worldwide. In the field of foreign investment, this year, and despite the pandemic, 5 new projects from China has been added to register, adding 27 initiatives for $4.5 billion at the end of the first half of 2020. And according to Vice-Chancellor, for 4 of the future Chinese investment in our country will be in global services. I mean, 5G, cloud and technology, 4 in energy, 2 in mining, and 1 in finance, 1 in food, and 5 in miscellaneous areas. In total, the projects that have been able to estimate a future investment of this portfolio of 17 projects. But what has been the role of ProChile in this scenario? I would like to mention that last month we celebrate 46 years of life supporting exports. Also the foreign investment in Chile and tourism as well. With our 16 offices in Chile, generating the exportable offer, and with our 57 offices in the world. Currently, foreign trade, imports and export is equivalent to a little more than 55% of Chile's GDP and generates approximately 3 million jobs. And ProChile works with exporting companies and supports them through different tools and financing, which is equivalent to a little more than 60% of non-copper export of goods and services. In my administration, since 2018, together with the private sector, ProChile already defined its mission, its vision, and strategic objectives, with the aim not only of increasing exports and their added value, but also of working hard to make foreign trade more inclusive, diverse, sustainable, and competitive, based on the human talent of our country, supporting the insertion of Chile into the knowledge economy, at the heart of which is the service sector. When we speak of services, I'm referring mainly to 3 types in our country, those that have developed around the traditional export sector. First of all, mining, agriculture, forestry, and fishing. Second one, professional services like architecture and engineering, for example. And third, services based on innovation and technology. For example, fintech and edtech or healthcare inside South America, among others. In addition, we are giving importance to the creative industries. Additionally, we have developed modern vision of trade. We have designed a cross-sectional strategy moving towards a more inclusive exports portfolio. That is, with a focus on gender equity, preferential access to indigenous peoples, and openness to SMEs, more sustainable, meaning respectful of the environment, and more competitive, going from traditional advantages to a competitiveness based on innovation and human talent. These are our most important targets in a middle and long-term view. Finally, I would like to say some sentences in the next 2 minutes regarding the COVID economy impact and ProChile's response. This context has forced us to rethink our strategy 2020 and 2021 in order to accelerate the changes that we have been promoting to decisively support the country's economic reactivation, considering that exports represent approximately 30% of our GDP. In our strategy with Asia, in the short term, we defined the prioritization of the insertion of our export offer in e-commerce channels, the diversification of the food offer, and the implementation of pilots in creative industries, services, and innovation, as mentioned before. In terms of e-commerce in China, we have carried out campaigns at Fresh Hippo in Beijing with more or less 100 million displays and a 300%, 300 increase in sales. And the platform like Tmall and Sunning in Shanghai, also with JD and Pinduoduo, as well as digital marketing campaigns and business meeting in both cities. In the case of Beijing, the last was held on December 8th, a few days ago, with 100 exporters, 72 importers, 46 distributors, and 8 platforms. Results of our export for January and November, I mean, this 11 months, 2020, are incredible, are really incredible, because despite all the forecasts at the beginning of national, international technical organizations, and Sebastian knows what I mean with, those topics. About the projections of our export, it was even say less 20%. As November, the results are very impressive for the impact in our economy. Chilean exports accumulate close to $65 billion, 2.3% more than in the same period without pandemic of the previous years. Without a doubt, I would say with great humility, I can say that Chile's contribution has been very important in achieving these results. And last but not least, I would like to highlight the framework of the global crisis. China helped in the fight against the pandemic, stand out through the Solidarity campaign, China Helps Chile, an initiative in which public and private entities collaborate. In addition, I would like to mention that in last April, the joint declaration was signed within the framework of the FTA to strengthen cooperation and combat COVID-19. And this declaration recognized the importance of supporting the free flow of goods and services, connectivity, and keeping supply chains open to achieve sustainable economic growth, something that is very, very important for our trade. We are looking with great optimism to the future of this bilateral relationships with China. In all the way that we have traveled successfully together in these 50 years based on trust and concrete results. Thank you very much. Che.
Thank you very much, Jorge, for this very interesting presentation. Now, let me give the screen to Oscar Asbun. Oscar, welcome.
Thank you, Sebastian, and let me just share a small presentation also with you guys, and let me, just a second. Am I sharing anything or? Sorry. Just let me 1 second to make sure I'm able to. Since I have the other screen here, just. Well, is that something you can see now or not yet?
Not yet. We saw that something before.
Maybe just
It was a map with China in yellow.
Yeah, that was the idea, but we didn't have, unfortunately, time to try this, but otherwise I will just go without the presentation, but just, I don't know why I cannot. Wow.
It was before.
Well, I'm struggling here, but
maybe we can let Mr. Pu talk and then
Yeah, please.
you go? Mr.
Yeah.
Pu, is that okay with you?
Oh, no, no problem.
No problem. So thank you, and let me give the word to Mr. Pu, chairman of China Construction Bank Chile branch. Please.
Yeah. Thank you, Sebastian. It's really my pleasure to be here to share my thoughts and communicating with all of you. I remember in April, I read an article written by Bill Gates. He said COVID-19 is a once-in-a-century pandemic. Maybe at that time, not all people agreed with him. But till today, with so many lives lost, so much damage suffered, we couldn't agree with him more. So what we should do? Before answering this question, I'd like to share a story. A Chinese young lady, Liu Xian, 24-year-old woman. After the epidemic erupted in Wuhan, she heard that frontline medical workers couldn't have warm meals due to the extended working hours and the closure of the local restaurants. On February 3rd, she arrived in Wuhan with her small team after 10-hour driving, 10 hours, brought tons of meal ingredients. After that, in 40 days, she cooked over 20,000 meals, 20,000 meals for about 20 hospitals. So by simple calculation, about 400 to 600 meals a day. More than that. Because the traffic is suspended, so she drove on her own to deliver the meals to hospital. So her selfless actions warmed the hearts of not just the medical workers, residents in Wuhan as well. But this is a story of a young lady. But on the other hand, it's not about her. It's about you, about me, and about everybody. I mean, everybody should and could do something. For example, we at least should practice social distancing strictly when going out. We could buy food or medicine for our neighbors or elderly people. If you are CEO of a company, you need to contribute more. And utilize all the resources available to protect colleagues, to ensure the operation of the company. Of course, different people have different responsibility. Medical workers, taxi drivers, government. I mean, everyone takes his responsibility, do his or her part. So this is number one, responsibility. Number two, sacrifice. COVID-19 will not go away on its own. We should sacrifice. For example, we should try our best not to eating out, try our best not going outside on weekends. Even try our best not to meet friends or family members for a short period of time. So today's sacrifice is for tomorrow's happiness. Small sacrifice is for big gain. So, I mean, and I'm confident through our sacrifice. And I totally agree with Tao when she gave us presentation, collaboration, sacrifice, collaboration, responsibility. We will win eventually. So that's all from my side. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pu, for your words. Oscar, now we can get back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian, and sorry for the technical issue before, but I think I'm now finally able to do this. You see the presentation, right?
Right.
Perfect, thank you. Well, first of all, a brief introduction. Because of my line of duty, I'm a CEO of a shipping line. We bring basically around 20% of the export products from China to Latin America, and also the exports from Latin America to China. So we have very, very strong ties with China since many, many years. We have about 1,000 employees in China itself. So we know China quite well, and we have had a very successful story to tell. So the perspective I want to show is basically the one of global trade, which was explained a little bit by Sebastian already, but I think I can give a different angle to that with a few figures. First of all, the global trade has been the essence of world development. Large and ancient civilizations developed around the sea, and not because they were fishermen, but because they were international traders. One of the iconic routes in the history is the ancient Silk Road to connect China with Europe, showing the old inclination of China towards global trade. The development of China has been remarkable throughout the years, but particularly after the WTO accession in 2001. When looking at this amazing development, one can understand, of course, the trade tensions with other countries in the world. Today, China represents about 14% of the total export of merchandise. When one looks at all included, including services, China has a very strong second position. The US is very strong in service exports. It is probably in the service sector where there is a large opportunity to improve exports for China. But you can see, and I wanted to share this with you, the very humble Chilean flag at the far right of the graph, showing the very small size of our economy in the context of the global commerce. This is a very interesting chart of Hirschman and Herfindahl index, which actually shows the closer you get to one on this chart, the more concentrated your global commerce is. In other words, you are concentrating your exports in less countries. It is remarkable how China, in the last 30 years, has diminished its dependence, and today they are very diversified in destiny of their exports, with similar levels than the US. The open business policy propelled by China has yielded significant risk lowering on the China dependence on few markets. When you look at the Chile case, in the last 10 years, we have started to lose a bit diversification. This is mainly due to the relevance of China in our economy, because we've been growing in China more than the growth of our exports in general, right? And China is becoming today, it represents about a third of our total exports. The everyday more relevant share of China in our economy, it has been a very strong engine for Chile to grow, but also a strong base for Chile to continue its international presence elsewhere. The strong ties of our small economy with China has helped significantly during the pandemic. Just to share a few figures, the total exports of Chile are about the same as last year at this stage, despite the huge economic effects in the global economy of the pandemic. And this is mostly explained by exports to China that in the same period, January to October, they grew around 13%. So they were able to compensate drops in exports elsewhere. Our total imports as country, Chile, dropped 19%, while our Chinese imports only have dropped by 2%. So this has provided, as Professor Claro has said, a very big deal of stability in our local economy. And just to share a few aspects which are today a reason of debate in the world of logistics, maybe just to understand how pandemic has created certain struggles around the world in the logistic chains. Just to mention, connected to China, the first quarter of this year was extremely critical for the logistic and supply chain of the planet. The lockdown in China created a global shortage on supply more than in demand. At that time, the developed markets were consuming normally because they didn't have a lockdown, and their economies were not yet disrupted by COVID. They started to diminish their stocks because we were not able to move out products from China. The lockdown in the country created a drop of 17% in export from China during the first quarter, and the logistic chain was operating at less than 60% of its capacity. This initially prompted lots of discussion around the diversification of risk when considering production places around the world. Many thought that this would be a huge opportunity for Southeast Asia to grow, for India to grow. We've seen indeed growth on those trades as well. But as Professor Tao said, an extremely fast reaction of China completely restored the logistic and production chain in less than 40 days. Thanks to this remarkable achievement, in September, the exports from China worldwide were up 10%, and imports were up 13% compared to 2019. This effectiveness in the control of the pandemic allowed China to take advantage of the lockdown in other industrialized areas, gaining market share in the global trade this year. So I think for Chile, for the rest of the world, there is a lot to learn about how China has managed to control the pandemic without affecting the potential growth in the economic sector. This is something which in Chile, thanks to very stable exports, we've also managed to diminish the impact, but we still see a very significant impact on the internal consumption, which is affecting, of course, our imports. With that small introduction, I'm ready to participate on the panel with a little bit of background before. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Oscar, and thank you all. We have time for a brief set of questions. Let me start asking maybe Jorge and Oscar a question for both. We have seen a recovery in trade from China, definitely, from Chile to some extent, but many sectors in the economy will be able to recover relatively fast, their activities, their logistics, while others will probably take time for activities to recover, both because manufacturing activities will with social distance and some measures of safety will have difficulties, or eventually the whole service and logistics chain between producing and reaching third countries will become quite affected. How do you see that process in, say, in the last two years? And what role could, in the case of Jorge, ProChile or policies could play in terms of helping those sectors left behind, because the new normal will be different from the old normal to some extent.
Okay, I would say the coronavirus pandemic has impacted distribution channels. I think that's very important. And this accelerated digital transformation and consumption preferences. So I think this is the new game. And as Chile's first largest trade partner, Chile is a strategic market for, let's say, high value added exports such as gourmet, organic, and healthy foods, superfoods, and food techs, as well as for services and innovation, as mentioned in my introduction. There we have a very good possibilities to enhance and increase our preference in foreign markets in comparison of our competition, clearly in Latin America. And we as per Chile were already working on these issues before the pandemic. And the modernization from our service, but now we have accelerated this rhythm. I would say the current consumer has become highly demanding food of higher quality and differentiation. And the expansion of the pandemic has dramatized this evolution. The population today is inclined towards foods elaborated with high standards of quality and safety, sustainable, and that contribute to well-being and healthcare. We in Chile, for example, understand food innovation as the most diversified, sophisticated, highly scalable, and competitive products offering. And where we find categories such as food tech, specialized additives, free from foods, functional ingredients, and food supplements. And Chile has identified more or less 140 companies in the last months associated with food innovation. I think it is a very, very good possibility. Of course, it's the mining sector, I would say, principally copper, which represents more or less 50% of our country total shipment between January and November, which more or less 34 more or less $million, which imply an increase of 1.5 compared to the same period. I would say the food sector, which represents more or less the other 50%, present a growth of 9.5%. I have the figures in my head because we see the last figures from the central bank and the central bank. So the shipments of pig meat, olive oil, and beef, they achieve a growth of 43% approximately. But fruit and fruit export represent more or less 20% of the products of the non-mining sector, registering the decrease of 7.7 more or less compared to January-November decrease. And I would say, and this is the importance that I mentioned before, that we have to move to the other organic and special foods.
Thank you, Jorge. Oscar, any thought on this?
Yeah, absolutely, Sebastian. I think that, of course, there are sectors which will be much lower to recover, if to recover ever to the same place that we used to have. You have airlines, you have restaurants, you have tourism, you have in general the entertainment industry, which unfortunately are industries which employs a lot of people. So one can see probably that the economic figures will recover. We see global trade completely recovers from September onwards, and we will have a last quarter which will be spectacular in terms of volumes and money worldwide. But that might not mean that the unemployment will recover at the same speed. because of these sectors which are employing a lot of people. So I think that the challenges for countries like Chile, we are not very relevant in terms of entertainment worldwide, of course. I mean, but we do have a lot of employees in the restaurant sector and entertainment sector. And I think that the way the country needs to face this challenge is by, of course, and I fully agree with what Jorge is saying, invest in agriculture. But we have a big issue today in agriculture in Chile because we need to make it sustainable long term. And we have a big problem with the water. There is, as we all know, there are discussions on water rights, whether this can be or not can be expropriated. So legal certainty on that front in the constitutional discussion are going to be very relevant for that business. But also I would say there are opportunities where our Chinese friends might be of extreme help, because there are two projects in Chile which are proposing to bring water from the south to the north, right? These are, of course, infrastructure projects which are significant in capital, but which will create hundreds of thousands of additional hectares to be agricultural land and allowing Chile to become a real global player on the agricultural business. So I think that the government, together with private sector, should address the issue of sustainability of this activity by creating more land feasible to be planted, but also to bring water so that there is no any more scarcity of the resource. Just to give an idea, 80% of the water coming from the rivers is lost in the sea. So we have lack of infrastructure, not lack of water in general in the country. So that's an area where I think big collaboration can be done between private sector and public sector, but also between China and Chile. China is keen, eager worldwide to be investing in infrastructural products, investments. So indeed, that's what I would have to say on that.
Thank you, Oscar. Very interesting thoughts. And Jorge, let me ask one question to Mr. Pu related to just what Oscar was saying at the end. You are president of a very big and important bank in China, one of the largest banks in the world, indeed, the China Construction Bank. And in the last, we have talked a lot about trade, but not that much about investment. So if maybe you could share some words regarding how do you see the role of foreign investment and Chinese investment in strengthening cooperation with Chile from your perspective? We have seen a lot of investment of Chinese companies in Chile in the last year. So maybe how do you see the role of foreign investment in strengthening this collaborative relationship?
Thank you, Sebastian. Yes, just like you said, now more and more Chinese companies come to Chile, not just for trading, for investment as well. I think it's very important, because investment really plays a bigger role in terms of enhance the economy, the employment, and the development of the country. So that's why Chile, not just Chile, all the countries, they welcome investment. So, and also that's number one. Number two, why Chinese investment comes to Chile? Of course, Chile is the best of Latin America, best country of Latin America. They have a good law enforcement and the transparency. I think this is very important for investors. So my point is, who invests is important, but most importantly, the environment for investment. It doesn't matter. It comes from China, from Europe, from United States. I think as long as you have good environment, law enforcement, transparency, and good policies, I think this will attract investment. That's number two. And number three, just you said, like you said, China Construction Bank is number two in terms of the capital. But here we are a small bank. I mean, Chile is a relatively new, a small bank in Chile market. But no matter the size of China Construction Chile, but we are happy to provide our service and the products to the clients, local clients, international clients, Chinese clients as well. And as a bank, we absolutely could play a role in promoting trade and enhance the investment as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Tao, let me pass the mic to you, whether you have any question, you want to make some closing remarks, or up to you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Actually, just because I pay more attention to everyone's comment, I did not pay more attention to the question on the chatting room. So I'm wondering, Sebastian, we still have time to try to answer their questions or not? Or we just try to give
one question that I didn't repeat simply because I thought had been like answered in the discussion, but we can repeat that. How China could achieve the highest amounts of monthly foreign trade in November of this year since 1979 in the situation of pandemia.
If I'm allowed to give an opinion there, Sebastian, I think what we've seen, at least from the commercial patterns, right, is that the pandemia has reduced the stock of goods all over the world, right, and has affected the supply chains and the production networks all over the world. As China recovered faster, their supply chain and their supply network, their factories open faster, the world is restocking today with Chinese factories. And that's why you will see probably not only 1 month, but you will see probably a complete quarter of huge growth of Chinese exports, which probably, you know, will come back to a normal growth, which is still very high, when the rest of the factories of the world will come back to normality. That would be my assessment. Sorry, Dr. Tao, that I interrupted you, but.
You actually, I couldn't agree with you more. Your answer is precisely for this question. So yeah, I do not have anything added to that. Okay, thank you for helping me to answer that. Just come to the sort of a closing remark, and also give some feedback to all the speakers here, right? It's wonderful to have this type of conversation. We actually contribute the information and knowledge from everyone's angle, and then put them together, you might have a big picture of the promising future of our two countries, right? Let me put it in this way, because I'm the professor of international business, okay? So if there is this pandemic, there's no doubt at all we're gonna have faster development of trade as well as the investment, because we two countries are too far away. When we get together, we're so strange. We do not know each other for many things. We're so many things indifferent. And right now, with all these years exchange, and we become closer. We become friends. As the Mr. Zhang says that actually you do have, Chile do have a very friendly investment environment, and our company have already know it, have already adapt to it, and right now they can find more opportunities, and especially they have good local partner working together. That's create a lot of room for more investment, as well as the trade. Okay, so if there's no pandemic, we're gonna have better and faster development, both on trade and investment. No doubt of that, okay? But I have to say, but we are in the pandemic, right? We are in the pandemic. And if you cannot control it well, and more people can be affected, and then you can have one run of another of the pandemic, and then you have to take the strict control one time after another. That will really hurt the economic growth, hurt the trade, hurt the investment, any economic opportunities. Okay, so I feel that what we really need to find some way to control the pandemic. There are more detailed things to be arranged. Actually, according to Chinese experience, it's just because we have done many detailed things. As I mentioned in my presentation, those are the things that very much effective for controlling pandemic, and actually has little impact on the economic growth, okay? So we actually need to have two hands strong. One is that to try to control the pandemic so that we can keep the case at a low level. That will create the foundation for economic recovery, economic development. Okay, so I feel that all of us here together contribute the knowledge, and what we need to hand in hand go in forward on two things. One is find more ways to control the COVID-19. Everyone contributed to that. We share experience. At the same time, we share the knowledge of economic growth. We try to figure out where to grow, how to grow. Okay, so let's collaborate to each other. So my suggestion is like everyone here, if we agree with each other, we start to think about the real topic for the next webinar. Maybe at the beginning of next year, we're gonna get together again to go on with this type of conversation and figure out new opportunities together. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tao Tao, and thank you all, the panelists, Oscar, Jorge, Mr. Pu, thank you for participating, and wish you a great week.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Dusty.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Sebastian.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Oscar. Yeah. Thank you, Jorge. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.